and which showed that there is some crisis coming. All of us have been watching cartoons from the childhood time. So whenever there is a crisis, there is a Superman or Superwoman arrives. Is it true? So I think career guides are the Superman and Superwoman who are going to take you through this crisis. Please, a big applause for all the career guides who have been practitioners. Many have joined I heard that many of you have joined last year to be a professional career guide and career counselor. And let me tell you what the world is looking today when it comes to this job, ambition, education, learning. All of us are speaking about lifelong learning. Everybody is aware about it. That is, learning is not going to stop at whatever age you have to learn. Then jobs, is it bounded by just before the session, this panel, people were talking about skills and certificates and many things. There will be job roles which require skill certificate. There will be job roles which will vanish altogether and something new will come. So the employment or being employed itself have a new definition altogether. There are kid age of 9 to 10 years are running an app company. And what do you call them? Are they employed? They're entrepreneurs and they're making people employed. You're downloading their games. You're playing with their games which they have put in the Playstore. So the whole landscape on which the survey, which in 2019 report spoke about the crisis and the way it is going to be very, very difficult is definitely not going to exist, because last 2 years of COVID has shown or made everybody a data expert. When the COVID started, all of us saw every day some data statistics coming in the news. And all of us, I'm sure there was an open source tool which was given, what is happening in which state, what is the number today, aaj kitna number aa gaya, how many people are dying, how many people are, what is the recovery rate, what is everything. So I saw the entire country speaking about data very openly. That is, data has a meaning and how does it affect to me. Exactly, do we agree with that? Now, when it was, again, now 2 years have passed. Many of us have had many incidents. I think Surbhi and Pranav both had a tough time, and many of us had many things going through this COVID patch. One thing which I took away was that data became a common part of all of us to understand that there is a data analysis which is going to happen. There will be a data ticker in all the news portal, in the news, and it is going to tell you and crop up question. But does it matter to me at my level is what happens. Now, if I start talking about primary education system of the country where the enrollment has today around 65% and we are talking about at a 2034 statistics, then we will match up China, will that be relevant to you? No. This forum is talking about career guidance and how career guidance is going to play a role in whatever crisis this country is going to see, or if there is a crisis exists or it is there in the mind. I can say only one thing, that Tim Cook was asked, Tim Cook is the CEO of which company? Anyone, any guesses? Apple, everybody knows, mostly many of you would be using one of the products. He was asked, why do you design in California and produce in China? Why not in India? So, most commonly all of us will answer, "Arey, labor sasta hai, labor low cost of operation hoga, isliye hoga." That is the question. Everybody would answer. Do you agree this kind of answer? Like, labor sasta hai, China mein to bhai फटाफट हो जाएगा सब कुछ. He didn't answer that. He said that our instrument needs advanced amount of scientific knowledge, handling electronics, because we upgrade every 3 months. And we need a workforce with that kind of skill who can match up our design. And in China, you can fill a stadium of people, like stadium is more than 10,000 people, if you want a skilled workforce of that level. But in India, is it possible? We are today talking about drones. How are the drone components are being, where are they coming from? How many Indian companies are creating drones? All are imported, Vietnam. Many of us are talking about semiconductor devices, our own phone, Android phone. Google is playing on Indian softwares. World's largest software community, which has highest apps in the Play Store, in Google Play Store, is from India. Similarly, Apple App Store, China. So China, they find that if they invest in China, Apple finds it much interesting because they get apps which all the world uses because they are skilled to that. Whereas in India, if Google invests, many software or many people are creating apps, and I'm sure many of you would have seen in the last 2 years that creating apps and uploading apps. It's become drag and drop. So is it a job or employment, or am I getting a financial standing? So government doesn't have a definition still. And I did a consulting for government of Kerala. They said, our people do not want to work in the factories anymore. They go to Saudi, all of us. But with remote work concept happening, in 2026, they count around 40% of Kerala youth, because they're extremely educated, intelligent, and degrees and certificates are anyways common to them. They only want remote jobs. What can be done about remote jobs? Tell us. And what do I know about remote jobs? I can only say YouTube, Facebook, app development. That is the only digital jobs. What else are there in the remote job? So none of us realize that when the last 2 years we were all sitting at home due to lockdown and many things, many of our own job became a remote job. Maybe now you join the office and they say, nahi, abhi to aana padega.
Yeah. So basically what I hear from both of you are hopeful. The situation or the grimness is in media, but I'll put this to you, GT, and this would be my last question because I got to check that lunch is ready to the panel. I actually believe situation is grim. Frankly speaking, I'm not as hopeful as both of you. Because we don't have this demographic dividend edge beyond another 12 years. Another 12 years, there's a demographic dividend. Maybe you can explain the audience what demographic dividend is more about. And Abhilash touched upon, in China, we can fill a stadium of 10,000 people if we need a skill, despite government's effort and despite you being in opposition. Sometimes you were also the skilling thing is going on, so you were into majority also. Despite that, it's been more than 2 decades almost government is working on skilling initiative. We still can't fill our stadium across any trade. What's your comment?
Sure. I think that definitely situation is grim from the point of view of the fact that the road from education to employment, first of all, it's an expensive road, more expensive than most middle class parents and low middle class parents in India can pay for. And the tragedy is it is broken, and no one is telling people about it. So in that sense, definitely it's a grim situation. Second, in terms of filling a stadium with people with specific skill, I think that when there is a mindset of excellence, that in the institutions that we are not looking at just being generalists who pursue a syllabus and complete that syllabus, right? Every town, every village that you would have visited, every town definitely will have an English medium school. But when you go to that town or village, are the children speaking in English, communicating in English more as a skill, or they are just looking at that as a subject in which they have to score marks? So I think we have really taken that purpose away in sticking to the taglines. But the purpose is to have a English-speaking workforce if the school was an English medium school. So again, there has to be a mindset on excellence. Wherever we say that this is an institution dedicated for this particular purpose, that purpose has to be visible in the outcome of that institution, in this particular case, the students. That is one. The moment in institutions that purpose is there, the outcomes are visible. Second, that even in institutions that have excellence, say AIIMS, say various medical colleges, IITs, the examination process, the test prep is so tough. 17 lakh children writing an exam to get to 50,000 seats is so tough that for students, just reaching that institution becomes a torch of success. But in most other colleges in developed countries, reaching an educational institution is not a torch of success. That's a starting point. So that's the starting point when you start doubling down on your capability, rather than feeling that now I have become a celebrity in this country because I reached this institution, and then that celebrity status will carry me forward. So that again, that mindset of excellence is lost. Third, that the idea that my skills are so important, that I'm not going to deploy them in my local context, right? You don't solve the problems you don't know about. If our education system makes only the upper middle class successful, then the problems that a lower middle class will face that can be solved with simple technological tools will not be fixed. So you need success to be democratized in a way that people from all social contexts are succeeding and using that knowledge to fix or solve problems in their social context. Fourth, I think that we are going to remain competitive across the world as long as we are able to ensure that people are mission driven towards their career, but they must have the right career narrative. The idea that everybody is going to have a continuous job for 30, 40 years comes from that generation who found that continuous job in middle class professions, in government jobs, and even in private sectors. Probably the new idea is that the job pathway is discontinuous. There will be times when you will be in job, there will be times you are scaling, there's times you are out of job. What you do in the downtime is going to be have a very determined impact on what you do in the uptime. If in your downtime you've acquired skills, shared your knowledge with community, done something which is a combination of your skill as well as your commitment to the community. In your uptime, you will be even more productive. So I think it is important that as we communicate the career story, it has to be more about doing with skills that you are good at, and doing with a dedication that the outcomes are as much personal and to some extent, some of the outcomes are social for the community. I think it's a combination of this that will matter. Where we are going wrong, where we are losing in opportunity, is that the government overall has to ensure that any institution that is falling off that agenda, outcome-driven agenda, is brought into the outcome-driven mode. There are enough assessments, enough tests that can tell you that whether an outcome is achieved or not. With God's grace, human talent is distributed almost uniformly. You take any group of villages, small towns, you'll find as brilliant students as you'll find in Delhi. Right? The key is that whether those institutions in those places are shaping up those individuals or not. So I think there are very clear gaps that data and assessments can identify that we fulfill. So that's the role of the government. The role of a private sector is to reward these excellence. If labor force participation in women is dropping, what are we doing about it? We just helped a small startup come together that focuses on, it's called She, that focuses on something like Naukri.com with video resumes for non-graduate girls. Because the girls who are not graduates, they are not going to have a paper resume that many of the people with higher education will have, right? Some of these things have to be created in a socially powered way, such that it is commonplace that in a small town, as you go across a small town, in shops, in other establishments, you see at least 20-30% of workforce is women. That is what will communicate that it's an equal opportunity town in that manner. And finally, take any segment, say healthcare. Just like IT was an export from India, healthcare is going to remain a very, very big export from India. We have the largest case load. Again, over there, if we set the structures right, we will be producing the best nurses, best pharmacists, best biostatisticians, best counselors on mental health, definitely best doctors and surgeons. But again, there is a role that excellence mindset and the government has to come in to promote that excellence mindset, and the private sector as well. So I think there are multiple gaps. If those are fulfilled, I am not saying that everybody will find a job. But I think the story will not be gloomy. There will be a lot of people who will have jobs in a year that are good enough to pay for their bills and also give them a sense of achievement and dignity for their family.
That was some practical advice. Abhilash, before I come to you, questions for GT and Abhilash. Yes. Irshad, I have experience.
Okay. The question to the politician. See, the entire hiring system of at least the government of India is actually, see, I'll tell you my example. I did my MSc in chemistry, okay? But I appeared for civil services, went up to the interview with sociology and Tamil literature, right? Okay. So similarly, if I have to take a recent case study where a surgeon who did his MBBS and then an MD and then he did his surgery and he cracked civil services and got some 160 rank and now he's saying he is going to become an IPS officer. Okay. So government is spending so much on this guy to become a doctor, then an MD, then a surgeon. Now he's saying that I'm going to be a police officer. Similarly, while people who are cracking the civil services, if you look at the data, 60 to 70% are from either IIT or like a BITS Pilani. Okay, I have some 6-7 friends who are in civil services right now in the cadre of DIGs who are from BITS Pilani. No, government is spending so much on these people for making them world-class engineers, but they are again taking the art subjects and some other subjects and becoming civil servants. So if you have any point to say, or probably a forum to address to the government, probably this is a very, very critical point I've been raising in so many, because I'm a consultant with the Ministry of Higher Education, Government of Gujarat. But I don't see any difference in terms of the policy changes or probably the guideline changes in terms of selecting the people, because there are people who are taking arts and they are, you know, kind of exceeding. So probably at the college level itself, or probably at the exam parameters level, you need to have a clause saying that, boss, you are, as a professional course, because we already have a shortage of doctors, right? That's point number one. Point number two, you said philanthropy. Philanthropy is now being done by people who are either successful in their business or probably their sons taking up, wives taking up. But somebody who at a school level, college level, a student who's trying to take a philanthropy is out of money. So probably there has to be some kind of support from the government for this kind of upcoming people who are trying to do service to the community, so that they will.
Sure.
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, very short answer. I think there are two parts to it. The second part I'll come to. I didn't say philanthropy. I think that there has to be a culture of volunteerism in the country promoted by families, by people of eminence, as well as by society, government, non-government, where people are motivated, especially younger children are almost a habit is inculcated that what you learn, right? A part of it should go towards improvement, betterment of the place you live in. Right? It's very simple. And when you are the custodian of those skills, those capabilities, and that good fortune that you have to deploy it. I mean, I'll relate it to something very different. You see this raging debate on religion, Hindu, Muslim, etc. Right? Now, one can be silent about it, but if you are blessed to have friends from all cultures and all society, then it's your duty to stand up and say that, you know, I am blessed to have friends from all culture and society, and as a result, I will not support bigotry. Right? So that sense of stakeholdership doesn't just live in a sense of philanthropy. It's protecting what you have been offered. Right? That's one. Second is the first question about IAS people. I think that, or brain drain, all those things will happen. Fortunately, right now in India, we are at a stage where you say anything and we'll produce more of it. The key is that at a time when there's a need and opportunity to create, say, medical colleges in every district in the country, we have more engineering colleges than probably we would need. Education is so there is a part of education which is just information, and that information is freely available. There's a part of education which is practice on that information that you have, right? That is also by and large freely available, right? Then comes the part of applying that information that you have and the practice and absorbing it. That is knowledge, right? That you can acquire. The certification, etc., is something that you pay for. That's a different thing, accreditation, degrees, etc. But what I'm saying is, it is fine if people want to take this very convoluted serpentine route to achieve what they want to achieve. But basically, often when what they are achieving is a social status. Probably somebody like that became a doctor for the social status, is becoming an IPS officer for a social status, right? That stakeholdership, that here I am endowed with certain analytical capabilities, I can crack exams. There's a time then that I look beyond social status and say that this is what I want to do in society. That mindset may not be there right now, but I think that mindset will come. That makes me hopeful. So I'm not worried about this one-off case. I think let people go to IPS, any generalistic field. Politics is a field of generalism. You will see a priest competing with a scientist, competing with an economist for the same position of an MLA and an MP, right? So I think in generalistic field, you will find people with all walks of life. But I think the excellence mindset is that in specialist fields, we have enough institutes and we have enough assessment tools and we have enough talent pool of students that we should be able to produce excellent professionals at every stage in their career.
We'll take a last question.
Good afternoon. My name is Nitin, and I train a lot of health professionals, and especially doctors and nurses. I train them on an English language test, the IELTS, and occupation English test. So I would like to answer first question that was asked by Ms. Urvi, that can we fill a stadium of Indians? And I'm very proud to say this question, which is the country, which one country in the world has the largest number of English speakers? I'm very proud to tell you, India is that country which has the largest number of people who claim to speak English. And China is not that country. And the difference is, we were ruled by Britishers, we embraced English, we embraced cricket, we became babus, because we wanted to live that life long after they were gone. In China, English is a foreign language. Yeah, English is the second language. We may fight regionally, but India is ahead. So I really feel Indians can fill that stadium.
So we'll fill stadium with English tutors.
Absolutely, right? And I'll just say one more point very briefly, that I'm not from Kerala, but most of my nurses come from Kerala, southern part of India. And while they struggle a lot with English because mom doesn't speak, dad doesn't speak, husband doesn't want to speak, they fail multiple times in testing itself. But once they go to Ireland and they go to UK, guess what? They all open their YouTube channels in Malayalam to educate their sisters living in rural parts of Kerala. This is how you come to Canada. This is how UK wants nurses to be. And I don't understand a word of that English because they speak in Malayalam. And I said, you paid me money to teach you English, and you go to English country to make a video in Malayalam. She just said, now my obligation is not to you, but to my community back in India. Right. And I'm very proud to say, we have people who are doing that.
Right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Abhilash, what's your closing comment for the panel?
With the topic, I think, it's not a straight path. A lot of emerging jobs, emerging new job roles, and the way people are learning today, they want to be independent at a younger age. They have to make their own choices. Government exam, not government exam. They have to be given that freedom. Career guides have to guide them on which and what, because many occupations have age as a limit and things like that. So they have to try many times. And like a startup world, you keep on falling and keep on standing. This is going to happen, and this recurring or iterative process is what the future holds. So, stability, or the way we always look at job and employment opportunity, or the model, ki padhai kar lo, certificate le lo, and then you get a stable job, shaadi kar lo, and the next life starts. That itself will change like a startup, that things will keep on coming up, and you have to uplearn, relearn, unlearn, again upskill yourself. So this is going to continue. And I think that is the model which is being practiced in every, from underdeveloped nations to developed nations to developing nation. And that is going to stay, and true for many people at their own economic level where they are starting.
Fantastic. Thanks, Abhilash, and thanks, GT. Yeah, sure.
I'll just say one thing as an idea, share it with this forum. Just like in healthcare, you have doctors refer somebody to another doctor if they think that something else has to be treated. I think the idea that no talent, no child must be left behind, and if there is a way that child could be helped by another career counselor, because that child has a unique talent and the child came to you, there must be some kind of forum where one career counselor can refer that child for a next stage of guidance to another career counselor. And if you do that as a network, you would have helped the child in much more ways. Apart from, definitely it would have strengthened your practice, but it will also build collaboration between career counselors, and will ensure that those who are looking at career counseling as a tour guide, that I send a child somewhere and I get a commission, they are not the right career counselors, right? Those who are looking at a partnership with towards the child's future, and as a result that partnership emerges from collaboration within the career counselors, that could be an idea that I would want to leave the forum with.
Fantastic. Thanks, GT. So for me, the takeaway was?
I also want to say something.
Sure.
You know what? Let's see this, that we belong to a country where Guru Shishya has been there, Krishna has been guiding the Arjuns, and that is not limited to one exam or higher education learning. You touch the people's life at a very young stage with their parents' acknowledgement and permission, and tomorrow's world is going to change, and we all also have to change and upgrade. So I request and suggest that the way she launched the platform, this Career Guide 2.0 for abroad education, many new learning and upgradation of our own self also has to become. And I wish and I request Surabhi to lead that with Career Guide, so that Career Guide also upgrade themselves with the upcoming and emerging world.
So currently I am going to lead everybody to Ellure for lunch.
So thank you so much.
That
Thank
I'll
you,
be doing. Ghanshyam and Abhilash will be around. Please connect with them. Speak to them. I'm sure you will get amazing ideas to follow. And the second half, post-lunch, we have a small musical program. Aditya, I'm just doing your work. And we have a Career Changemakers Award where we'll be felicitating and awarding 20 change makers. And we will also have Atishi Marlena Singh also joining us, taking up the award for her great work with Delhi Government School. So let's enjoy our lunch and some conversations.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For the lunch, please proceed from this exit, left side, end of the corridor. See you in the next 30 minutes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Left side, end of the corridor, please.